I think parents can relate a lot to this gospel, because when you ask your children to do something, they of course always say yes, and then you find out that they forgot or they didn't. When I was growing up, my father had horses and cows, and before going to the field in the morning, he will tell me, "Son, I want you to make sure that the horses have enough water for the day." And I will be, "Yes, Father, I'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of that." He'll come back later in the day to find out that I didn't, that I have forgotten. And then he will come to me and he said, "Now, what happened? I give you more responsibility to water the horses." Well, I forgot that. All right. Just make sure the next day you do what I ask you to do. All right. Good. Same thing happened again, and again, and again, and again. I keep forgetting, because I was thinking that my father was forcing me to do this work that I didn't want to do. I thought, why does he want me to take this responsibility now? You know, I don't need this. I want to watch TV, I want to be with my friends, or whatever. But later on, as I grew up, I realized that what my father was doing was teaching me how to be responsible, how to listen to him, and how to follow what he commanded me to do. Now, for the young people here, you probably fall in the same mistakes that I fell into. Your mom and dad ask you to do something, and of course you will say, "Yes, I'll do it, I'll do it." And then that never gets done. But then mom and dad ended up doing the job. Cleaning the room, cleaning the dishes, taking the garbage out, whatever. Because we are afraid, or we don't want to take responsibility, because we believe that something has been forced upon us. Now, if we think about the church, about what God is asking us to do, we sometimes feel the same way. Why do I need to follow what the church is telling me to do? You know, the church is asking me to go to Mass every Sunday. Well, I don't feel like going to Mass every Sunday. I'd rather stay home and then go when I feel like it. Or why is the church telling me how to live my life? You know, why can I, I can live with my girlfriend, with my boyfriend before marriage. It's fine. The church doesn't know about that. But the church is wise, because the church is teaching us what God the Father is wanting us to do. God the Father knows more and better than we do. And then through the church, God asks us to do something. How to live our lives. Not because He wants to restrict the way we live, not because He wants to force something hard or difficult upon us, but because He wants us to be happy. The first son that we hear in the gospel refuses at first to go to work in the vineyard. But then later he's changed his mind. Perhaps he realized what his father was asking him to do. That responsibility, the trust that his father was putting on him, that he could do that job and take care of the vineyard that perhaps later in life will belong to him. The second son, very respectfully, he says, "Yes, sir, I'll go." But ended up not going. He decided to stay where he was, to live the life according to what he wanted. He didn't look at the future. He didn't believe that his father was putting something on him because he trusted him, because he loved him. The first son recognizes in humility that he needs to obey his father, because his father is wiser and knows best than he does. We hear in the second reading how Christ emptied himself, taking the form of a slave, becoming one of us, so that we may be saved. There's a difference between Christ and Adam. If we go back to Adam and Eve in the garden, when the Lord puts him in the garden, he said, you can take of any of the fruits of the garden, except for one tree. You cannot eat from the fruit of this tree. But then a voice comes, the enemy, the serpent, the devil, comes and begins to whisper on Eve's ear. Oh, the Lord has told you not to eat from that fruit? Well, you know why? It's because it's power. He wants to keep that for himself. But if you eat, then you will be able to distinguish between good and evil. You will be like gods. Immediately, she said, what does God know? Why is he forcing me not to eat from this tree? Why is he prohibiting something if he is my Father? Why is he keeping this for himself? I want that as well. She ate it and she gave it to her husband. See, the difference there is they begin to fill themselves with pride. I don't need God to tell me how to live my life. I don't need God to tell me that I shouldn't be eating from this. I'm going to take my own decisions. I'm going to make my own choices. So Adam and Eve fill themselves with pride. And Jesus is the contrary. Him being God, he empties himself. And he becomes one of us. He becomes a slave. And he goes and suffers. He's been mocked. He's been scourged. He's been stripped naked to be nailed to the cross. All because of us. Because he recognizes that he needs to show us how to be humble. How to detach ourselves from what we want. And how to obey our Father. Jesus was obedient to the Father even unto death. Because he knew that in the future, his death will bring us life. His resurrection will open the gates of heaven for us. So when we think of what does the church wants, what the church knows, why is the church inflicting this pain upon me that I have to go to church every Sunday or follow the commandments? Because the church is looking at the future. What's good for us? Who knows best? We or God who is our Creator? God who knows every part of us. Even better than we know ourselves. What God is asking us to do is to look in the future. To look at the choices we make now. And if there's something that we are doing that is keeping us from following Him, to change our minds, to change our hearts, to change our ways, so that we can embrace His commandments. Because the commandments that He has given us is not out of pure, that He wants to make us do things just out of pure enjoyment because He likes to see us suffer. No. The commandments He gave us is because He loves us. And because He knows that if we follow them, in the end, we will be happy. If we try to do things our own ways, we will always fail. But if we try to do what God is asking us to do, we will always triumph. Because we are doing His will. So let us look to Christ on the cross. Let us imitate His humility. Let us imitate His detachment. Let us empty ourselves of our own wants to fill ourselves with Christ and to follow God's will in our lives. Amen.
Amen.